Do you have a trip that you'll remember for the rest of your life? Maybe you were at the beach, enjoying the sun on the tranquil coasts of Italy, or maybe you went to a secluded village in the mountains and connected with nature, and people whose way of living was completely different from your own. Do you remember that sense of discovery, that excitement deep inside you when you experience something you haven't even thought of before? Today, I would like to talk about a game where the developers put a lot of effort into making you remember these feelings again. A game where the adventure feels so thrilling that traveling itself starts to feel alive. And before you ask if it is an open world game, it definitely is. However, being open world is not what makes the traveling experience immaculate. It is much more important to create an immersive world than just a big-ass map with a lot of side objectives to go for. If the player feels like they're part of the journey and not just the hand that controls the character, this is where exploration and traveling start to feel real. Enough introductions, let's begin, shall we? The game we're going to discuss is called Octopath Traveler 2, and yes, the word travel is right there in the title. In the very beginning, Octopath Traveler asks you to choose your main character. And usually, this kind of choice can be pretty stressful, because what if you pick the wrong one? What if another character has a better story, better abilities, or simply feels more interesting to you? But here, the game handles it in a very smart way. You choose one of 8 travelers to start your journey with, but this choice doesn't mean that the rest of them are gone forever. Later, you can meet every other character, recruit them into your party, and experience their stories as well. And this is important, because these characters are not just random companions of one real protagonist. Each of them feels like a main character on their own. They all have their own goals, their own problems, their own storylines, and their own reasons to travel across the world. They're not just sidekicks who exist to make your party stronger. There are people with their own lives, and this is one of the main reasons why Octopath Traveler feels so alive. And that is aside from the main story of each character, which is unique and charming in its own way. There are also crossing past chapters, where 2 characters tackle some kind of problem together, and even that is not all. Particio, the merchant, due to his profession, also has a couple of different missions called Scent of Commerce, which are basically another set of side quests gravitating towards the whole merchant and bargain territory. Even mechanically, the game supports this idea. Every character had their own job, which basically works as their class. But they also interact with the world in different ways. Some characters can challenge NPCs, some can gather information, some can buy or steal items from the townsfolk. So your party is not just a collection of stats and abilities. Depending on who travels with you, the way you explore towns, talk to people, and solve small situations also changes. And little by little, this makes your journey feel less like you're controlling one hero with 7 helpers, and more like you're watching 8 separate lives slowly cross each other. And since we mentioned their special abilities, or pass actions, let's dive a bit deeper into this one. The world of Octopath Traveler features 26 unique towns. Some are smaller, some are bigger, but they all feel different from one another and represent their regions very well. Now, you might be thinking, that's one hell of a lot, why would you even need this many? Because the towns contribute to the feeling of traveling just as much as the world around them. As I mentioned before, the characters have their own ways of living and vivid personalities, and one of the best ways to experience that is by visiting towns. Depending on your party, you have plenty to do there, and might I also add that each character's path action changes depending on the time of the day? For example, during the day, Throne as a thief can steal items from the townsfolk with a certain chance, and the higher her level, the bigger the chance becomes. At night, however, she can knock people unconscious, giving you the possibility to reach places you normally wouldn't be able to access. Hikari the warrior can challenge other people to a 1v1 duel, and if he wins, he acquires that person's special ability. At night, he is able to buy information from people, either to get more insight into the story or to find a better way around town. Now imagine how much variety you get by exploring all of these towns and the people who dwell within them. This is almost a game on its own, let me tell you. And if that wasn't enough, each town has its own history and cast of characters. What I like the most is that NPCs here are not just faceless figures dropped into the world to make towns seem alive. A lot of them actually appear in the characters' stories and interact with the protagonists, filling each place with familiar, friendly faces. Usually, NPCs are just there for filler, but here, people in towns have their own stories, and a lot of their destinies are intertwined with our main characters. It brought me so much joy to just drop by a tavern I had helped get back on its feet, and noticed everyone who participated in the process sitting there and rooting for me. This is how the devs make sure that towns and the stories within them feel alive too, not just the roads, fields, and forests around them. Speaking of which, the open world itself feels awesome as well, even though the enemies here appear through random encounters, meaning that nobody is actually wandering around the map. And yet, depending on the time of the day, you meet different NPCs in the same areas. Each of them may have their own requests, interests, and loot that you can obtain through the past actions of your heroes. Some especially tasty NPCs are hidden deep in the forest and only appear under the cover of the night, reflecting their nature as assassins, hermits, or people who clearly do not want to be found. And honestly, this adds even more charm to the entire world. If that wasn't enough, then let's move on to how this game gives information to the player. As I already mentioned, you will meet NPCs in this world who give you quests. But to complete them, you will have to rely almost entirely on your own knowledge and the information you have gathered in that town or during your travels. There are no intrusive markers constantly glowing in your face and telling you where to go. There's none of that. There's only the NPC's request and the note in your traveler's journal. That's it. If you are told to go west and help someone in the wilds, then yes, you go west and wander around like a real traveler, slowly getting more and more immersed in the lives of your companions. Is the cave dangerous? Then you sneak your way through the guards with the right combination of past actions and eliminate the threat. Are there rumors in town about bandits hiding somewhere in the snowy forest? Then you will have to actually look for them if you want to get your reward. And this is just wonderful. This is exactly what fuels curiosity and makes you feel like a real traveler. The cherry on top is the guild system and the mechanics around character development. When you reach a guild, you can learn the corresponding profession and equip it on any of your characters as a secondary job. But here's what makes it even more interesting. Each guild contains information about altars that you need to find in order to obtain an X skill for a specific class. And as you can probably tell from the name, these are not ordinary abilities, and the search is absolutely worth it. On top of that, guilds also give you indirect hints about the locations of legendary weapons, which can become a massive upgrade for any character who manages to obtain them. And this also adds to the immersion and the feeling of discovery. The player here is a part of a huge, living world where everything does not revolve around one protagonist, but around all the creatures, people, stories, and places that inhabit it. Needless to say, you will meet countless creatures on your way, and your party will have to deal with them. However, even here, the individual specialties of your party members will be much needed. I'm not going to dive too deeply into the mechanics here because I would need an additional video just for that, but it is very important to state one thing. The difference between classes is not only in their abilities. Oh no, it is much more than that. Some path actions allow you to recruit strong NPCs from towns and use their help in combat, which can be a huge help sometimes. Additionally, depending on the character's profession, they will be able to do things no other character can. Ochet the Huntress, for example, can capture hostile creatures and use their abilities in battle. This mechanic is exclusive to her, and it adds so much spice to the combat. Casti the Apothecary can use ingredients and materials found on the journey to mix healing or hazardous concoctions and use them in battle. So there is another layer of complexity in looting chests, gathering materials, and getting familiar with towns. And don't get me started on the enemy variety and the bosses. They are so great because they make you act differently depending on the battle. Each boss battle is unique, and it always brings out uncomfortable combat situations you have to overcome. And what is even better, your approach is going to be different depending on your party. There is no one clear way to solve the problems here, which is awesome. Every one of these features created by the developers of Octopath Traveler 2 adds to this incredible feeling of adventure and discovery. A feeling that cannot really be compared to a regular open world game. The main characters feel alive. Regular NPCs have their own place in every town and every story. Chests, hidden locations, guilds, altars, weapons, rumors, and small discoveries are constantly waiting for you to find them. And I truly think that Square Enix and Acquire Corp managed to create a stunning, unique world filled with interesting things that you actually want to discover for yourself. So what are you waiting for? Go on your own journey and do not forget to fully immerse yourself in it, because this game, ladies and gentlemen, is especially good when you allow yourself to sink into it completely. I hope I managed to intrigue you enough to give this incredible work a chance. You might not like turn-based combat, but trust me, this game might just make you reconsider. If you like pixel art games, check out my video about 3 great pixel indie games that you might have missed. This was Murasame, and I will see you in the next video. Lights out.